Rolling.
Yeah, much better.
Okay, welcome Sandy.
We have to change the film.
Welcome Yehuda.
We have to flip the cassette over.
Moving over to part two of the our.
The mayor's in it. He's here. But he's in the waiting room.
Mayor,
Okay.
are you here?
Oh, there he is, Mayor.
Okay.
Okay,
No.
there he is. Okay. So we'll start again. Parshas Nitzavim. Atem Nitzavim Hayom Kulchem Lefnei Hashem Elokeichem. Nitzavim is ha'achana for Rosh Hashanah. It's the Shabbos before Rosh Hashanah, generally. And Atem Nitzavim Hayom. Hayom, Sfarim say, refers to Rosh Hashanah. That we are all going to be Oimid B'Din together. Kulchem Lefnei Hashem Elokeichem. And the Parsha of Nitzavim has in it one of the main avodas of Hachana for Elul, for Rosh Hashanah and Rosh Hashanah, which is the avodah of Tshuva, the mitzvah of Tshuva. This week's Parsha has in it the mitzvah of Tshuva. The pasuk tells us, "V'hayak yavo yalech kol dvar me'elash habrach v'aklala, v'hashivos alvech b'chol hagayim, v'shavta ad Hashem Elokecha v'shemata b'kailai." Right, the mitzvah of doing Tshuva. So we were saying before on our first go around that be'emes we don't really see the avodah of Rosh Hashanah being an avodah of Tshuva. Right, Yom Kippur we see Tshuva, we sit with the Achetz. When we think of Tshuva, we think of Vidoy, Yashamnu, Bagandus, and Yud Gimel Midas. And Rosh Hashanah, this really isn't the avodah. But be'emes Tshuva has a much more basic connotation than the penance, right, of the Ashamnus and the Vidoy. Vidoy is a ma'aseh of Tshuva, but the broader picture of Tshuva ultimately is like the Arizal says, Teshuva is Miloshen Tashuv Hey, which means you have to bring back the Hey. What's the Hey? The Hey Achroin of Shem Havaya. Shem Hashem is Yud Kei Vav Kei. Like we spoke up many times, the Hey Achroin is Oretz. And the whole avodah of a Yid is to make a chibur, to make a connection, and to make a equality between Shemayim and Oretz. What does that mean? That means when a person goes up to Shemayim, what does he see in Shemayim? He sees only Ruchnias, right? There's no such thing as Gashmias, right? Ein Achila, Ein Shtia, right? Ba'olam Haba. All there is Ziv Ashchina. That's Shemayim. Aretz is meant to be able to mirror Shemayim. And when people make Kiddush Hashem and they're doing mitzvahs, what do you see? You see Shem Shemayim. You look at a tzaddik, look at the Rebbe Rebbe, and you see a mirror of Shemayim. You look up at Chatzkel Levenstein, right? You see, so a mirror is Shem Shemayim, right? You look at Reb Chaim Kanievsky. You even look at Tzvi Shiborsky when he's sitting and learning. When he's coaching basketball, maybe you don't see it's not so noticeable. When he's sitting and davening, you see a mirror of Shem Shemayim. Person Chas Hashem does an aveira, and he's mafrid the he'achroinok, he's mafrid Aretz from Shemayim. All of a sudden, Aretz seems to be a wasteland. It seems to be a void of kedusha. Huh?
The story with the toilet.
Ask everybody if they did or not.
What?
Remember that story that Rebbe said? The toilet bowl that's full of stuff and you stick your head in it?
Yeah, it's not a story, but that's what people do all day. Yeah, it's not really a story, just the
reality.
Just the reality. So tshuva b'emes is tashav hey, is recognizing that Olam Hazeh screams with kedusha, and getting away from this view that Olam Hazeh is hefker. Right? We described Olam Hazeh as people think Olam Hazeh is their man cave. Right? This is where we escape from our responsibilities. We do what we want, and leave me alone. And be'emes tshuva is that's the greatest period between the hey and the yud kei vav. And tshuva is recognizing that Olam Hazeh is meant to be consistent with Shemayim. And that is really what the avodah of Rosh Hashanah is more holistic avodah, getting to the basics. After that Yom Kippur, says Mei Tshuva, we work out the details. But the aleph is you have to get the holistic picture that Olam Hazeh and Aretz and Shemayim are consistent. That's the union of the avodah of Rosh Hashanah, which is Kabbalas Malchus Shemayim, being Mamlech HaKadosh Baruch Hu, where ultimately hey, Achroin is the Bechina of Malchus, which when it's nifrad, it doesn't feel like a Malchus, and when it's connected, it works as a malchus. It appears clearly to be a malchus. What is tshuva? Tshuva has a bad name. Tshuva has a stigma to it. People feel if I did tshuva, I'm admitting my failure. No one wants to admit that I'm a failure, right? That I was wrong, I made a mistake. Especially the male members of society, for them to admit that they've made a mistake is a very hard thing for the macho men of this world to admit. So ultimately, tshuva has a stigma to it. You're admitting that you did something wrong, that you were bad, you were evil, you were destructive, and all these things are ideas that are very difficult to face. Now, the goal of a Pnimis HaTorah Shir is always to put a brighter spin on things that people have trouble with. And when you look a little bit deeper into the Pnimis, you see Simcha, you see Ava, and life becomes much easier. Avodas Hashem becomes much smoother. Let me tell you over a Vilna Gaon that's brought down in the Sefer Pninim Mishulchan Agra Al HaTorah, Parshas Nitzavim. I'm just in the middle of a shir. Yes, I'm in the middle of a shir. Won't stop ringing. So on the parsha of Tshuva, Kisashav al Hashem Lankech b'chol levav b'chol nafshecha, they bring down the Gemara in Brachas. The Gemara Brachas says Machlaikis Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Vo. Rabbi Yochanan says Kol Neviim Kulon Leinis Nabu El Bali Tshuva. Right, all the Schad and Neviim tell us about that everything is going to be so wonderful one day. That's what the Bali Tshuva get. But Tzadikim Gemurim, pure Tzadikim that never did an Aveira, never had the need to do Tshuva, their schar is indescribable. Ayin le'rasa le'kim zu'usecha. Yas and le'machakala. Pligad Rabbi Vo says the opposite. You think Tzadikim Gemurim are better than Bali Tshuva? V'malkim shebali Tshuva aimdin, ein Tzadikim Gemurim yichayim lahamid. Okay, it's machlekes. The Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Vo, apparently it's machlekes Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Vo. Who's greater? It's Tzadik Gomer and a Baal Tshuva. Al pi pshat. And it's hard to understand. How could someone that is perfect be a low madrega that someone was imperfect? Right, b'derech pshat, you could understand that a Baal Tshuva has suffered a lot more than a Tzadik Gomer. Tzadik Gomer has lived his whole life in ecstasy. Right, everything's great. Right, like we know all the stories of Tzadikim Gemurim. Right, they go to Reb Zisha and say, Reb Zisha, how do you survive all the difficulties in life? He says, I don't know. I never had anything difficult. I'm the wrong person to ask. Right. So Tzadikim Gemurim, that on the one hand they're doing tremendous avodah, the Meidach he said that they haven't suffered. Right, they may have had difficulties. Things might have been painful, but they never suffered because Hashem was always with them. A person that Nebuch was chayte, and he wakes up and realizes that he was chayte. When he be'emes realizes it, the tsar is ein l'shar, right? He's gone through literally a tremendous amount of tsar, and for him to pull himself up from that, the Sheva Yipot Tzadik become this idea of just getting up and ignoring the tsar and just rebuilding. This goes against such a resistance that a Tzadik Gomer never faced this resistance, because the resistance of the Tsar of falling down is so great, a person just wants to bury himself. And when a person does tshuva and he just goes against that resistance, that makes a tremendous amount of energy and dveikus that a Tzadik Gomer may not have. That would be a conventional way of looking at it. The Vilna Gaon says, he asked the following question, that the Rambam seems to paskin both Rabbi Vo and Rabbi Yochanan. And he seems to be saying that a Tzadik Gomer and is greater than a Baal Tshuva, but he also brings down Baal Tshuva has a very special place that Tzadikim Gemurim ein yochayim la'amid. So he says, I say, what's the pshat? He says the Baal Tshuva of Rabbi Vo is also a Tzadik Gomer. He says, however, what's a Baal Tshuva about Tzadik Gomer? He says there are times that a Tzadik Gomer who's never failed on his own will be nishal in avera ketana b'shoigeg only because the Kadosh Baruch Hu set him up for it. Right? The Gemara tells us about many tzaddikim that did avera. It's called Aimer David Chata, right? Ein Elataya, right? It's contained Lischem Leitem Pischem Pel Bali Tshuva. and says the same thing. Other Marisha and Klai. So by the Egel, there is this idea that a tzaddik gomer will be nichshel in avera. He says avera. They say quote him over here avera ktana, and they say it's b'shoigeg, right? In order kadesh yaseh tshuva, v'yikayim mitzvahs tshuva. Kilu, he set up. This tzaddik gomer needs. There's one mitzvah he's lacking. He's never done tshuva, right? He's set up to do an avera they call it avera ktana b'shoigeg. I'm going to maybe expand it for us a little bit weiter, right? But the idea is that a person can sin, a person can fall, and it's really not his bechira. It's something he was set up to do. Why? Because you got to do tshuva. And the core you're going to get from this tshuva is going to be something you would not have had if you wouldn't have been chayt in the first place. And that's the makam shabali tshuva aimdin, a tzaddik gomer that never had the opportunity to do tshuva. He did not have the schus to be set up to fall, right? He's not in the same madrega as the tzaddik gomer who HaKadosh Baruch Hu had rachmanas on and gave him siyata d'shmaya to be zeicha to do mitzvahs tshuva.
I have two questions. First of all, where do we get this premise of that perfection is the key, that we're looking for some sort of perfect record? Second of all, if a person does tshuva, then everything they ever did is kilu done. So why are we looking at it? Why
So they should be equal, you're saying? Especially
they're exactly the same. It's tzaddik gomer. You do tshuva, you're also a tzaddik gomer. You're on the same level. And where are we even coming from this premise that like, why does that have to be that one is greater than the other? One is more perfect, less perfect?
Okay, fair point. It's a good question. Ari's asking, right, that if tshuva works, right, then it's as if he never did an aveira. Right? If he never did an aveira, then he is a tzaddik gomer. So l'chayra about tshuva and tzaddik gomer, there should be no competition.
Isn't that the difference between tshuva me'ava and tshuva me'yira?
Well, right. So what you right? Zoyd is not like kishkagos if it's tshuva me'yira. Tshuva me'ava is not like kishchuyos.
It's not like it's completely gone.
Oh, so that's me'yira, but me'ava. Yeah, well, that's the mechanics of it, but you're less liable by yira. Tshuva me'ava, however, is not like kishchuyos. So l'chayra, it's a good question. If a Baal Tshuva reaches madreg of tshuva me'ava, l'chayra, he has nothing on his record that indicates chait. Anything that was previously viewed as a chait is all of a sudden a mitzvah. So it's a good ha'ara. I'm not sure what to say. I really don't know. It's din shemayim and exactly the where everyone holds in shemayim is obviously out of the realm of human beings to understand. But the Chazal do tell us that after all said and done, the madregas yesh. So just taking this point to point a little bit further when it comes to tshuva, just to make tshuva a little more palatable, I should say, palatable. There's a famous question, famous philosophical question that the Rishonim deal with, that we know HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows everything, and if HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows everything, he has an idea about everything, so l'chayra, that is a stira to bechira. Right? I have free will, right, to do what I want. However, if I choose wrong, chas v'shalom, right, I'm liable. However, HaKadosh Baruch Hu knew before I was even born that I was going to do this avera exactly on this and this day. So his knowing it, l'chayr, means that it's a fact, right? If it's a fact, then I don't have bechira. How do I have bechira to choose on things that are facts?
Well, that's his perspective. We are living our lives from our perspective.
Okay, so I'll just tell you a conversation we had about this, and just maybe define what Ari's saying. Maybe Hakadosh Baruch Hu is beyond time, so he could see after the fact as before the fact, but it doesn't mean that I didn't have bechira, right? That would be maybe a way of looking at it, right? Hakadosh Baruch Hu can read the end of the book before it happened. But the kasha is really starker, because when we say HaKadosh Baruch Hu has the idea, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu's idea is always going to be emes, right? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu's idea is it part of his achtos? HaKadosh Baruch Hu is what knowledge, not like us, right? We're people. We have all sorts of things going on in our lives. We have split personalities. We have a job. We have this relationship. We know this. We know that. There's just a million different moving parts in our world of yediyah. Okay, but when we say HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a idea, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Yediyah is a display of, he knows everything. That's just a display of his Achdus, right? Of his being everything. Anything that he knows is part of his everything. It would sort of be like this idea of Einoi Mavadi. Just take it to that. Ultimately, Hakadosh Baruch Hu's Yediyah is an expression of his Achdus, of his emeskite. That means when he has the idea of my chet, that means it's not a chet, because that's part of his Achdus. That's part of the big picture. Okay. That would be really the way to ask the question a little more philosophically. L'chayra, there is a tremendous stira between Yediyah and Bechira, and it's a stira that cannot be bridged. It can't be, right? The answer is we don't understand Bechira, okay? We don't understand Bechira, and so when you don't understand something, you can't ask Kasha. But be'emes, fundamentally, Yediyah and Bechira can't be bridged. How do you bridge Yediyah and Bechira? So I heard once upon a time from a big tzaddik who made the following statement. He said like this: when a person is faced with an nisayon to do an avera, do I do it or not do it? He has to know fully you have bechira, and he has to be willing to be ma'aseh nefesh in order to be beicha b'tayv and to run away from ra. After the fact, a person has to face what he's done. At that point, the way he faces it is yediyah. It had to be this way, and tshuva is an acceptance of the fact that it had to be this way, and a complete bitachon that it had to be this way. Why? Because ultimately, chet provides me with a possibility of new avodah I wouldn't have had. So after the fact, a person doesn't need to be broken and say, oh, I didn't have air, I'm broken, should I stick with this program, or maybe I should check out and join the guerrilla world, right? Because look at me, I'm such a failure. After the fact, the person has to be perfectly comfortable knowing this is Yediyah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu knew about it. How can HaKadosh Baruch Hu know about me being in a matzav chet? Well, let's look at my matzav now and see the opportunity it presents me with that I wouldn't have had without this chet. And all of a sudden it says, thank you Hashem for giving me an opportunity, breaking me down, making me feel humble, and allowing me to come crawling back and accept your malchus afresh. Okay, so that would be expanding the word of the Vilna Gaon. Again, the Vilna Gaon said that the Indians, there's a tzaddik gomer who is about tshuva because his chet is be'emes, he's not liable for it. It really did not take away from his madreg of tzaddik gomer because it was there as a hechetim, so just to give him an ability to do tshuva. And we're saying even weiter that every chet after the fact we're supposed to approach it with that emuna. That this is not a steer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Yediyah. It's a matzav that is lechatchila for us. When you live a life lechatchila, all of a sudden tshuva becomes something you embrace the tshuva because you recognize this is a task that I have to do that ultimately is going to bring me closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and it's a closeness that I would not have had if not having been in this matzav of failure.
That's why Echta v'Ashiv doesn't work, because Echta is the Yediyah and the Ashiv is also the Yediyah. You can't have both of them.
Echta v'Ashiv.
Echta v'Ashiv, I know I'm going to make it. I know I'm going to do Aver, so I'm not like.
I'm not sure.
No.
I'm a little spacey. I'm on a Sudafed now, so it's hard. Okay. That is a little bit about tshuva, and I'm going to tell you just some Sefer Imrei Noam over here about Rosh Hashanah a little bit. Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are days of awe, right? And they darshu Yishumas. People give a remez for the days of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. The pasuk in Amos that says Aryeh Shayag Mi Lo Yareh. Aryeh is Rashi Tevis. Rosh Hashanah, Yom HaKippurim. Okay? Aryeh Shag Mi Lo Yareh. Okay? The inyan of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur ultimately is to get us to Yirah Shamayim. Okay? That's the goal. We all have to develop Yirah Shamayim. Without Yirah Shamayim, we haven't started Avodas Hashem. Yirah Aryeh. There are many levels of Yirah Shamayim. There's Yirah Ha'inish, right? And there is Yirah of year of not getting schar naglam haba, like the Mesilas Yesharim says, middle level, and then there's the year, the highest level of year of fear that a person will not reach his shleimus of serving a Kadosh Baruch Hu. So I'll just tell you a quick vart about Yir Shemayim and Elul and this Shabbos, which is the last Shabbos of the year. He says, Azay, Nirmei says the following, that if a person wants to be Zaycha, but then he has to develop Yir Shemayim. Yir Shemayim is a hard madrega to reach. However, Chazal tells Masechah Shabbos that Matana Tova Yeshli Beis Kenazai v'Shabbos Shema. And Shabbos and Yira are very misugol zelazeh. Shabbos is man that's misugol for Yir Shemayim. Bereshis, one of the tzirufim of Isis Bereshis is Yarei Shabbos, right? That from the very beginning of the world, the Welt needs Yir Shemayim. Yir Shemayim is hard to come by when we're working in a job during the week and we're being twisted by the Yetzer Hara the whole week. Comes Shabbos, a person Shabbos is man. The Kedusha Shabbos is misugol for Yir Shemayim. Famous Yerushalmi is that Amaretz Yir Shabbos Olav, and therefore Amaretz has special nemanos on Shabbos about that he took off Chumas and Maises off his payers, because Shabbos has a natural yira even on Amaretz. Zakti Meinayim, from the Degamach and Ephraim, the grandson of the Baal Shem Tov, Matana Tova Yeshi Beis Kenazai v'Shabbos Shema. Shabbos is a tremendous Matana Tova. What is the Matana Tova of Shabbos? Zakti Degamach and Ephraim. The matana is Yir Shemayim. This is matana tova, right? This stems with what Chazal tell us. Ein la Kadosh Baruch Hu bebeis genazav ela oitzish Yir Shemayim. The Gemara Brachos tells us. So if he tells matana tova yesh beis genazav v'Shabbos Shema, and we know that Ein la Kadosh Baruch Hu bebeis genazav ela Yir Shemayim, so we know Shabbos and Yira are the same, because Shabbos ultimately is a hechatim sevaklai yisod b'kani Yira. He brings down from a sefer Bris Kunas Olam. Matana Tova bebeis Kenazai is B'Gematria Yir Shemayim.
Sani, you should be jumping. Why is that contradicts with Kol B'Dei Shemayim plus Yir Shemayim? Bebeis Kenazai. If Hashem has an oitzer full of Yir Shemayim, then what does it mean? That
No. What he puts in that
the oitzer is a gift to us. He gives us the ability to have Yir Shemayim.
That's what he appreciates. What HaKadosh Baruch Hu appreciates is what he stores away. Is Yir Shemayim. Okay, you have to know whether the same oitzers. But that would be that's a sushal that came off the cuff on Sudafed. But he says
I could give you stronger stuff.
He says Atem Nitzavim Hayoim, right? Atem b'mem rabasi, and end the mem, we know the Isis Menatzbach, they take the aleph base from Tuf, which is 400, to all the way to 1,000, right, to 900. And the Chaf is 500, and the mem is 600, right, and the pay, and the tzadi 800, and the tzadi is 900. Okay, that's the way it works in Gematria. Atem with an end the mem is b'Gematria Matana Tova bebeis Kenazai. He says if a person wants, he says Atem Nitzavim Hayom Kulchem. He says Hayom, like we said at the beginning of Shir, Hayom is Rosh Hashanah, right? Atem Nitzavim Hayom. If you want to be able to stand up in the Yom Hadin, you have to have Atem. You have to have the Matana Tova bebeis Kenazai, which is the Matana of Yir Shemayim. Okay, we'll wrap it up over here with this. Now we should talk about Zoiche to feel the Aryeh Shoyeg Mila Yira of the days of awe, come into our Shabbos Kodesh, and be Zoiche to the Beis Genazav Shal Kadosh Baruch Hu to be Kaini Yir Shemayim. And with this, we'll talk be Oimid on the Rosh Hashanah in a good matziv, and we'll have be Zoiche to a Shana Taiva U Misuka.
Amen.
Okay.